Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be with you again. I remember a lovely dinner a couple of years ago in which I had the pleasure of being with you as well. In defense of Christian Summit, thank God you have this summit. Thank God you organized this organization some years ago. I want to acknowledge my co-chair of the Armenian Caucus, Gus Bilirakis, who I believe will be here later. We are in the middle of a votorama, as we call it from time to time, and we'll be burning the midnight oil, I'm afraid, tonight in the Capitol. But I snuck away because we're in the middle of a debate and the vote's not going to take place till about 8 o'clock. So don't tell anyone that I wasn't there. But to President Tewfiq Baklini, excuse me, and to the IDC Board of Advisors and Trustees, thank you. Thank you for what you do. I wholeheartedly support IDC's mission to safeguard the rights of all people in the greater Middle East, especially those vulnerable to violence, marginalization, and persecution. You know, as a child, I learned from my Armenian-American mother about the atrocities in Armenia. And I must say, it wasn't until I visited Armenia and went to the Genocide Museum that I truly understood what had happened. That 1.5 million Armenians were massacred by the Turks back in 1915. The genocide is particularly painful right now because, as all of us knew, the actions last year by Azerbaijan in conjunction with Turkey to attack Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh as we call it, was beyond the pale. And I am still angry by the fact that we in the United States sat on our hands. We cannot allow for countries to persecute those that are Christians and, frankly, those that are representative of other minority religious groups. As you may know, the consequences of that attack by Azerbaijan displaced about 100,000 people in Artsakh. It also was responsible for the destruction of many of the Christian cultural places of worship and other sites. The deliberate shelling of the iconic Shusi Cathedral and the removal of its distinct Armenian pointed dome should sadden all of us. And now there's great fear that the ancient Divinik monastery is also going to be lost. But Armenians are not alone in the struggle. Christians in Lebanon, Turkey, Algeria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and other countries throughout the Middle East suffer discrimination in education, in employment, restrictions on public acts of worship, and so much more. According to a report commissioned by the British Foreign Ministry, Christian women are disproportionately likely to be victims of discrimination and persecution in certain countries, including through human trafficking, gender-based violence, kidnapping, forced conversion, and forced marriages. Religious persecution has no place in any society, which is why I've introduced legislation on the Rohingya religious minority in Burma, the Sikh and Hazara communities in Afghanistan, and others. Most recently, I'm proud to lead a resolution condemning the atrocities against the Chinese Uyghur ethnic and religious minority, with a particular focus on women. Despite these challenges, I'm still hopeful. I was privileged just last week to visit Cyprus, one of the only Christian majority countries in the Middle East, where I experienced firsthand the warmth and hospitality of its people who have suffered their own share of violence. We owe it to victims of persecution everywhere to continue to fight and prevent religious injustices intolerance, and oppression around the globe. Now, I want to end with another place I visited last week, and that was Auschwitz-Birkenau. I've read about it, you've read about it. It was an outrageous Holocaust. But there's nothing like visiting it to be haunted by it. It haunts me today, it will haunt me the rest of my life. 1 million people were burned in furnaces at Auschwitz-Birkenau. And people around the world knew about it and did nothing. So your work and my work to make sure that we hold those accountable for these atrocities today and tomorrow is imperative. So I join with you in saving Lebanon and stopping Turkey, among other countries who are oppressing people around the world.